energy and her influence is starting to affect not only client services, but also the team as well.
You're already a master stylist. You're already the top performer. Like, what else is there?
That's like hoping and praying that it'll sort itself out, which, by the way, doesn't work. I'm good, but actually my world's falling apart, but I'm not going to say that. Should I let her go?
Welcome to the Salon Owners Collective podcast. Today, we're talking about how to tackle a toxic team member. Jemima is joining us on the podcast again because she's had a tricky week. And Joel and Jemima have been hanging out this week. So, hey, Joel, thank you for joining me on the podcast once again.
Yeah, so good to be back. Thanks for having me.
So, you and Jemima have been hanging out. Just between you and me, it's a different Jemima, but for the purpose of today, Jemima, she had a bit of a problem. She's got a bit of a toxic team member. And today on this episode, we're going to cover the 3-step process on how to get her back on track or decide to let her go.
Yeah, cool. Awesome.
So why don't you just share with us, like, what was the challenge that Jemima was having? What was she facing? Like, take us into her world.
Yeah, cool. So Jemima, one of our owners, she has a team member. We're going to call her Jenny. And,
Jenny from the block.
Jenny from the block. And Jenny's been with Jemima for a long time. And in recent times, Jenny has been showing up. There probably isn't any other word to describe it other than disengaged or apathetic. And the more that I spoke to Jemima about Jenny, it wasn't that Jenny was intentionally showing up disruptive or disengaged or even negative. It's just that because of something, not sure what, she's really starting to affect, like, her energy and her influence is starting to affect not only client services, but also the team as well. And so I don't know, Larissa, if you've had that experience before, but it's kind of like you can't really put your finger on it. Like, I don't know what it is as the owner, but something's not right for Jemima with Jenny.
And if once your team start coming to you as the business owner and saying, hey, Jenny's like, what's wrong with her? She's grumpy today. It's affecting us. Like, the team was starting to feel the impact, Joel. Is that right?
Yeah. So the team's starting to feel the impact, and the more that Jemima would dig with Jenny, the more that she found out that for Jenny, it's kind of like, well, I've been to the mountaintop, like, pretty tapped out. Not these exact words, but like, don't really have any sense of like what's next sort of going on. And so it's affecting the team. Her attitude, her presence, her energy is affecting the team, but it's also starting to show up and affect her performance as well.
So sales performance with teams, with clients, her rebooking was dropping, retail sales were going down, and just generally, I think apathetic's a good word, right? Just a bit meh.
Yeah, it's like, just like unpurposeful, unmotivated, just I'm physically here, but mentally I could be anywhere.
Yeah, just for context, like, this is a salon, this owner is in our boardroom, like, they're doing $1 million plus. This is a pumping business. Like, they're doing well. So the team is uplifted. And so this apathy is really like dragging everybody down. And Jemima came to you, Joel, and said, like, what do I do? I'm really thinking like it's affecting everybody. Should I just let her go?
Yeah. And that, obviously as a coach and someone that's there to support and guide and even mentor at some point, when one of your very successful owners shows up and says, look, I got a great team. We're doing really great. But this person, I'm thinking, should I let her go? It's like the focus really tunes into, okay, what's really going on here?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So this owner has had this team member, Jenny from the block. When you say she's been to the top of the mountain, she's the highest performing person in the business. She'd been in a management role in the past.
Yep.
So,
and consciously decided that, that was good, that was great. And stepping sideways or back down, if you like, to being a high performance stylist. Like that was a mature decision. Like life is good. She's paid really well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we agreed there were three principles that Jemima really needs to think about. So, should we talk about, like, in your mind, Joel, what's the number one most important thing for Jemima to think about?
Yeah. So if you can relate to Jemima, I think in these situations, whenever you're dealing with people, actually business in general, like principles serve you really, really well. And the principle that comes to mind for me here, first and foremost, is you need to protect your team culture with extreme prejudice. And what I mean by that is basically team first. So if the team's been affected by someone's individual contribution, if you like, that needs to be dealt with. And as a Salon CEO or as a leader of the team, that is your job to deal with that, or you've got the responsibility of sorting that out. And interestingly, when a business or a team operates with a team first philosophy, uniquely the individuals are really well taken care of. But on the inverse, if you have a team where, everyone feels really precious, and when things aren't going well for them, they expect everyone's time and attention and poor me and victim mentality. Like it's really unsustainable for the owner. It's really unsustainable for the manager. And it's kind of like, it's a little bit like the tail wags the dog. And so the first thing to consider is that something's going on in the team. Something's going on with this individual for sure, but something's going on that's affecting the team, and that needs to be dealt with. What am I really trying to say? You need to go and have what we might call a hard conversation with Jenny.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And what, discover the real problem? Like what's going on for Jenny?
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, that's the essence of a hard conversation, right? It's like, hey, this is what I'm sensing and seeing. Let's have a conversation. Like you're not there to critique or criticize or judge. It's like when you're otherwise high performing, cohesive, trustworthy, been around the block for a long time. I mean, it's Jenny, starts to behave in a way that's uniquely different and has a negative influence. Like that should pique curiosity. And you have to have like if you avoid that or you're too busy for that, like that's not team first. That's not protecting your team culture with extreme prejudice. That's like hoping and praying that it'll sort itself out, which, by the way, doesn't work.
So I know Jemima has in the hallway passed by and said, "Hey, Jenny, are you doing all right? Do you want to catch up?" And Jenny's gone, "No, like I'm good. Jemima, I'm good."
Yeah.
What do you do? What do you do there? Like she doesn't want to meet. She doesn't. Like I take that as she doesn't think there's a problem.
Yeah. And, like, I think to add is like human beings are interesting. It's like, like, how are you? I'm good. But actually, my world's falling apart. But I'm not going to say that because I'm conditioned to say I'm good, I'm fine, I'm okay. So let's not be naive to think that just because someone presents or at face value says it's all good, babe, that actually it is all good. Like we're smarter than that. We're emotionally intelligent. Most of us are mothers, well, not me, but you guys, like we get people. That's our game. We're in the business of people. So yeah, they might put resistance up. It's like, cool, I hear you, I see you. I've booked us in for lunch down at Dockside tomorrow at 12. Hope you're hungry. Ciao.
Yeah, okay, I love that. It's not like, would you like to, not mamby-pamby. It's just like, this is what we're going to do. It's going to be nice because we're going somewhere nice.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow. Like that
Yes.
actually feels light and easy.
And that was one of the challenges, if I may, that I actually ran into with Jemima, is sometimes we're really addicted to the detail and answering the question why we're having the conversation. But as we teach in the science of hard conversations, when you're leading someone or framing up a get together, it's, do you have some time to do this thing, insert positive context, to work on team communication, high performance, culture, whatever it is. I mean, most people are not going to say no to that. And that's what it's actually about. So you want to lead them with context, not content and details.
Yeah, I love that actually, because I think as humans, we automatically go to worst case scenario. Like I remember as an owner, team members would come to me and say, "Hey, Larissa, can we have a conversation tomorrow?" And for the next 24 hours, I wouldn't sleep, I wouldn't eat, and I'd be like, shit, she's going to tell me that she's pregnant and she's leaving and like 5 terrible things. And then she would go, can I just ask for a day off? I was like, oh, bloody hell. We go in with worst case scenario. So going in with beautiful, positive context, I think this game changer.
And like, imagine if you worked for me, Larissa, and you're one of my stylists, and I said, hey, Larissa, I see you've got an hour lunch break tomorrow. Could I steal 5 minutes of that? I'd love to pick your brain on high performance in our team. Like, you're going to sleep great tonight. Like, you're not worried. That's all good. That's how we want to be setting up these quote unquote hard conversations when you're actually concerned about the individual.
So that's a good segue, talking about high performance, because in this scenario, Jenny from the block, her performance actually dropped a little bit. And this is not uncommon when there's something happening internally. We see performance dropped. I had a gorgeous girl that worked for me for a really long time. She was one of my highest performers. And every time she broke up with her boyfriend, Joel, her performance went to the toilet. She stopped rebooking. She stopped selling retail. And it was just like, mate, like my business can't survive based on your love life because it's detrimental to my business. And you guys break up 3 times a year and you get back together. So luckily enough for her, she didn't marry him. She married somebody else and they're happy with lots of children. So, so we've established we need to have a conversation. We're off to Dockside for lunch. That sounds really good. And I think in terms of performance, one of the things that you talk about a lot, Joel, is like just sharing reality, like sharing the truth. And that really feels good to me. Like I like to be honest and truthful, and it doesn't have to be emotive, but just the facts. Like actually at the moment, these are the things, what's going on for you, but I also want to share with you the impact of that from a performance point of view. And did you actually realize that what you used to do and then what you're doing now and what that means for the experience of the client? So I always think sales performance or, service performance should be related to not the sales or the service, but to actually the experience that the client has when you don't provide 10 out of 10. And I think there's a good conversation to be had.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. Like in a hard conversation, if it's me versus you, there's always going to be confrontation, defensiveness, a feeling of being judged. But if you bring in a third stakeholder, like the client experience or like the team culture, so that it's not just me versus you, but it's like, we're having a conversation about what does the client need or what does the team need? That's a way more elegant and effective way to have a difficult conversation for sure.
Yeah, so we're bringing up the impact on the team because you're protecting culture. We're bringing up the impact of the client because the numbers, performance is telling me that the care for the clients has gone down. The numbers is kind of the scoreboard to happy clients. If a client is happy, she'll rebook. If a client is happy and engaged and understands, she'll take your recommendations and make the purchases. Like it's just the scoreboard to what you're doing. So I think being able to get those 2 things on the board before you step into, and again, I'm going to steal something from you, Joel, is like going into a conversation with curiosity maybe you can speak to that because it takes the pressure off having to tell you that, hey, you're doing a really bad job. Why the heck? What's going on? But do you want to speak to like shifting that a little bit and being curious about what's going on for that person?
Yeah. So what that comes from is literally thousands and thousands and thousands of feedback sessions, and the amount of times that I've gone in. Let's use this as an example. So I go into the hard conversation. I'm Jemima with Jenny, and my evidence is the client experience is going down, the numbers are not up, and the team are pissed off. And I want to tell you that because you need to do something about that. Now, how's Jenny going to feel? Going to feel even worse than before. If she was apathetic, now she's like far out. She's one step away from just like energetic freaking catastrophe. And so what we all learn from feedback with our significant other right through to professional feedback is that actually so often we can be wrong about something.
Hey, it's me. It's just me, and I'm quickly jumping in to interrupt and say, hey, thanks for listening to this episode. Now, let me ask you, do you ever feel like you've reached the top of the mountain and you just don't know what to do next? Like if you're $1 million business and maybe you're about to reach it, or maybe you're already there, but now you're feeling a bit lost because the strategies that got you there aren't going to get you to your next milestone. Right? What got you here isn't going to get you there. Sometimes the things that we did just don't work anymore. But I have some powerful strategies just for you. The Salon Mastery Boardroom is designed for $1 million plus businesses, and you'll learn how to take your salon to the next level whilst being surrounded by a community of other $1 million like-minded salon CEOs. Those CEOs are there to support and uplift you. So I'd like to invite you to join me for a complimentary $1 million strategy call. We'll discuss your business, your role in the business, and how to explore how you can grow your team, your leadership team, and develop the people so you can take the next step and reach that next milestone. All you need to do is click apply now in the show notes of this episode. It will take you through a couple of quick questions, then you can book a strategy call with me. All right, that's enough. Let's get back to the episode.
The best way to lead, because this is what you learn in consulting, is the past is gone. You can't change the past. There is now, there is next, and there is beyond. Those are the only controllables. You can learn from the past, but let's not dwell there. And so it becomes important for us to, in these otherwise hard conversations, to have the tone, but also the language of someone that's curious. Because if you're curious, you actually come across as like it's like, tell me more about that and what's going on there, and what does that mean that you can't get a house, or whatever the thing is. Like, what it does is it gets the person speaking and unloading all of their confused thoughts, because sure as shit, Jenny does not know what's going on for her. Jenny doesn't know. Jenny does not know. She thinks it's this, but it's probably not this. So your job is to allow her to what would otherwise be journaling, right? Like everyone talks about the power of journaling, like get it out of your head so you can deal with it. Really powerful. That's the role of Jemima in this situation, is get it out of your head and into just out of your head.
Ask the right questions and do the good listening. So I've got a question for you, Joel. Like, where does the line stop for a business owner? Like, I'm a salon owner. Now I have to learn to be a therapist. Like, like at what point?
You don't mean skin therapist, you mean psychoanalytical therapist.
Correct. Yes, thank you for that. Exactly. Like, at what point, is it my role to lead, support people, and at what point do I go, for goodness sake, I employed you to do a job. Can you just do the job, please? We can lead the horse to water. We can't force it to drink. What are your thoughts on where do we draw that line?
Yeah, it's really good. I think to those people that are listening, there'd be a really good argument to stay in your lane. I am first and foremost by trade a stylist or a therapist, and I'm good with people, but I'm not a therapist. So, when it gets to this point, you're out of here, babe. But I'd actually counter that and I'd say, how awesome are you, or how awesome could you be? As we look into the future, the businesses that will succeed are the businesses that are able to manage the complexities of human beings. That is what makes a business really, really successful, is a leader that can lead people. And there's some real technical skills and strategies and things like that. So I think part of it is, are you as an owner willing to get better as a leader? And if the answer to that is yes, then the line moves, Larissa. It can move a little bit. But to give you a firm answer, because that's kind of cool, Joel, I get that conceptually, I'd kind of be, typically when something hasn't happened, like someone's not performing anymore, or they didn't show up for work, there's kind of sequence, which we won't go through today, of steps that you go through that we teach in Salon Mastery. The reason why someone didn't do something or they didn't perform is because they didn't know they had to, or they don't know by when, or they don't know how to do it. And so we train them or whatever. But right at the bottom of that list is someone didn't do something because they didn't want to. They're like, I don't want to do it. I don't care anymore. And that's the topic of motivation. Someone's not motivated to do the very thing that they're actually employed to do. So that line, if I was drawing a line in the sand, is that as an owner, you should know the exact science on how to motivate your people. It's really simple. It's 3 steps to it. And you should deliver that. And if you can go to sleep at night and walk away from your business and go, I know how to motivate my people, and I am motivating my people. And for whatever reason, Jenny, it ain't drinking the Kool-Aid. I've done the best that I can.
Yeah. And now it's up to her.
It's up.
Like she's got to make a step. And I really want to just sort of wrap that up by, having the courage to recognize when you're there and deciding to draw a line in the sand and, giving your people the choice. Like, actually, at the end of the day, this is affecting performance. It's affecting the business. It's affecting the clients. And so I actually need you to step up. Or, and I'm not giving you the words, please don't go and say this in your conversation, but metaphorically, like you've got a choice now to either perform in the role that we've set for you, or you can make a choice to do something different. And I think that's the courage piece that we have to have as the business owners, recognize when we get there, when we've done all the coaching and we've done all the conversations. And that's probably a good segue. I just want to, before we wrap up, because I'm really dying to hear how the conversation went between Jenny and Jemima, because we're going to share that in just a moment. But before we do that, I just want to touch on, like, one of the challenges for Jenny was, I've been at the top, I've been a manager, I've been a high-performing stylist, and I'm really demotivated because I want to buy a house, but I'm already at the top and I can't afford a house. Like, the environment's changed, the cost of living has changed, and I'm performing at the top of the salon there is like, and it's just out of my reach. And she was feeling super deflated.
Yeah, we kind of, like, in her words, I think it was like, I've reached the top of the mountain and it's kind of like not what I thought up here.
Yeah, and I still can't get my goal.
Yeah.
I still can't reach the thing that I really want. And so it's like, meh, I'm just kind of giving up a little bit. So I think one of the opportunities that Jemima has in all of those conversations is to make sure that, I think I see this a lot, actually, Joel, is that when our team members reach the top of our business, it's because they've reached our top of what we can see as the owner. So, like, Jenny caught up with Jemima, and Jenny's like, well, you're at the top, babe. Like, you're like, in Jemima's mind, she's like, I got nothing more for you. You're already a master stylist. You're already the top performer. Like, what else is there? And so if the top that she's got is not enough to reach her goals, then she's at risk of losing Jenny from the block. And what I want to offer is, like, people will always leave you when they run out of future. And so as the Salon CEO, you just got to create new future. And if you've run out of future, how can you lead your people? And so if her goal is to buy a house and she's like, I can't. It's like, well, of course she can. She can buy the house, just maybe the timeline needs to be extended. And then we want to bring the goal closer. Maybe her goal is to save a third of the deposit in the next year, in the next 2 years, in the next 3 years. Like, bring the target closer, because the goal might be far away. But equally, if you've got at the top, then you've got some new business development to do as the business owner. Like, we need to create new future. There is never a ceiling in business. There's just a ceiling in our own minds.
Yeah. One of the roles of a leader is to cast hope that tomorrow can and will be better. And the more that you do that, it starts to model for your people, and then they eventually start to model that thinking themselves. Everyone by default thinks negatively, mostly negative. So one of the best things that we can do is model thinking. So, create some future.
And if you run out of future for your team, then that just means you need to go and create future for yourself. Like, go find it. Like, that needs to be your next mission. All right, Joel, let's, Jenny and Jemima had a conversation. Like, what happened?
They did. They went for coffee. They went to dockside, metaphorically. They had a great chat. And interestingly, when Jemima led with curiosity, because that's how we coached her to be into the conversation, what she found out is that the problem that Jenny from the block was presenting with was actually not the problem. And no one listening to this is surprised, right? Like, it actually,
what was the problem?
The problem, well, she kept digging, right? So she's kind of like, so it's not actually about the house. And she realized that actually that's actually not a thing. And financially, she's actually really secure the more that they dived into that conversation. And then so Jemima says to, well, is it, work? Is it maybe you're a little bit stale, you're sick of the trade, sick of the industry? It's like, no, actually, I love the team. And part of the reason why this happens and this truth is met with is because Jenny, for the first time in her bloody life, has had someone actually care enough to listen, as you talked about earlier, Riss. But the part of, if not the problem, was actually that Jenny hadn't done something in a long time that actually lights up her bloody life, her soul, which is travel. And she was reflecting with Jemima on times in the past when she has traveled and how much that contributes to the colorfulness of her life. And so that lunch turned into a travel planning session. And apparently Jenny and her husband now have a savings account and they're very much looking forward to, can anyone relate, looking forward to something adventurous in the future.
You just need to have a pin in the map. And so that goes two ways. One, like put a pin somewhere in the world that you want to travel. Like I literally have a pin in the map on my map downstairs. So we're off to Bali, and so we're doing that. But more importantly, like you need the next goal in the foreseeable future. Like what am I moving towards? What's the next exciting thing in my life? And if you look into the future and there's nothing that lights you up as exciting that you're looking forward to, then life is just meh. And whether it's the career, because she had reached the top, but that actually wasn't what was stressing her, and whether it's the house, but actually that wasn't, because she actually was on track for that. So there's lots of places where you need to have pins in the map, but everybody needs to have a future.
Yeah, everybody needs to have a future. And I think what happened is Jemima recreated or enabled for that in something as simple as booking a lunch at Dockside. And it just raises the importance of not only being curious in those conversations, but having the courage as the owner to go, how this is at face value is not the conclusion. I need to get more evidence to then make a decision. So get out there and have those conversations.
Yeah, I agree, because actually Jemima was about to let Jenny go. But actually, I think the moral of the story, Joel, was we just need to be curious and be courageous to have some conversations and find out what's happening. So thanks for sharing the story of Jenny and Jemima, Joel. And if you need some guidance on how to effectively, systematically build a system around creating future so you can build solid career pathways, or even just exciting, dynamic lives for the people that you work with, or you want to learn how to have better hard conversations, if that's something that really is fearful for you right now, then my invitation to you is, let's jump on a strategy call. Let's talk about your business. You can share what's going on, what your goals, dreams, aspirations are, what are the roadblocks maybe. I'm going to leave the link to that in the show notes of this episode. Hey, Joel, thank you so much again for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And until next week, same time, same place. Ciao for now.
Ciao.